Austin here. So today, I want everyone to get sad, because we're gonna be talking about the top 10 worst video games based on a license. Although, I think some of you might get mad, because like, well, I can't believe that people like Dragon Ball Z Sagas. What is that? Now, we've gone over licensed games several times in the past, so there's not really much to say here. I, however, decided to dig as hard as I could to find the cream of the shit crop. You'll notice that there's probably gonna be a good amount of games missing that others have mentioned, like Superman 64, E.T., or Hannah Montana. Why? Well, I wanted to showcase something new. Or old, I guess, whatever. I also wanted to try and keep each entry as different from the others as I could with one entry per franchise. Otherwise, we'd be seeing, well, mostly shit like Beastly, and I don't want that. And with that all out of the way, let's all sit down and prepare to watch some of our favorite franchises fall into the shitter. Top 10 worst games based on a license.
The year is 1990X, when evil starts to prevail, when superheroes fail, when there's only one last resort. Steven Seagal is the final option.
Well, I'm glad we haven't reached that point yet, because Steven Seagal's tucked away somewhere, just like his shitty game that never got released. Hey! That's right. In the world of licensed video game titles, somehow action movie star Steven Seagal got himself a working prototype of a game that was canned. And thank God this never hit the store shelves, because holy shit. Now, I can't be too hard on this game because it was never actually released. It was shifted to the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation as a Steven Seagalist game called Dead Honor, but that also died. So basically this prototype has you fighting your way through baddies to set up bombs and destroy terrorists? Be it in a sewer, volcano, or even in the droid assembly line from Star Wars Episode 2, there's evil that needs stopping. Whatever the situation is, we are clearly the last resort. Also, the game is shit. It's complete shit. Not in like a it's not finished way, but in a all of the mechanics are fundamentally flawed way. Movement is incredibly sluggish, kind of like Flashback or Blackthorn, but on an isometric plane, so it's yeah. For the prototype, you have unlimited lives and the ability to teleport around anytime after death, so you can straight up skip the platforming segments, and why wouldn't you? They're impossible! In fact, 90% of my time spent playing this game was being dead and or dying. This may be because collision detection doesn't apply to Mr. Seagal, but that is merely speculation. And then I broke the game. Well, next game. I think it's pretty easy to take a look at a game and determine it as being shovelware. These tend to be like mini-game collections or games based off of TV shows, or you know, both, like the recent-ish Duck Dynasty game. Yep. Alright, this is a bit of an easy one, but we gotta have at least one of these, right? There were other candidates like Desperate Housewives or Deadliest Catch, but Duck Dynasty is a particular brand of terrible. I mean, all these reality TV shows are usually hammed up fake shows produced for the lowest common form of entertainment, but the low effort of Duck Dynasty was truly laughable. So much so that retailers have a hard time practically giving it away.
Ducks are like women in that they don't like a lot of mud on their butts.
Okay, listen, I'm from the South myself, but I have no idea what the Robertson family is saying half the time. I feel like there's not many people who would be a fan of having muddy butts. I mean, if I'm wrong, please let me know, but as far as I'm concerned, the general populace is a clean butt kind of zone. But of course, let's compare women to ducks, okay? Gameplay here is really nothing special. Actually, it's not really anything at all. It's a game about brutally murdering ducks in QuickTime events. Call the ducks via terrible QTE and auto-aim your way to victory, because fuck putting in any effort! Like seriously, you just have to hit the iron sights button and you just lock onto things. I think they also accounted for the player base to be unfamiliar with the concept of thinking, cause look at this shit.
That's alright. You'll get the hang of it.
I'll get it. I'll get it. I just killed it! Damn you, members of the Duck Dynasty video game industry crossover audience! Eliminating any challenge for the rest of us people who play Duck Dynasty video games. I mean, you get to like drive around and stuff too, but well, can't have fun now, can we? After all, this game is only rated T for teen. Who this game is for besides people on YouTube will be beyond me, but I'd like to meet you. Duck Dynasty, as terrible as I expected. Now, while I said I'd stray away from typical choices, there was one that I wanted to rag on. A lot of people, myself included, love the Aliens franchise. From the innovative thriller of the original to the guns McShooty of the sequel, Aliens. And let's pretend that these don't exist. The video games here don't have a better fate either. It's such a mixed bag, but it's a strange day when the best Aliens game is probably Aliens vs. Predator, the beat 'em up, or maybe Isolation, I don't know. But there's not an entry to the Aliens franchise more offensive than Gearbox's Aliens Colonial Marines. From the shady trailers and gameplay shown off at events like E3 to the alleged siphoning of money onto Borderlands, this poor game was destined to a terrible fate.
Sir, the Sulaco was reported last seen over Fury 161. How is it back over this planet?
Lieutenant Reed, thanks for the interruption.
Yeah, that's right, girl, shut up! What have women ever done for humanity against the xenomorphs anyway? Oh yeah. So what's the problem with Colonial Marines? Well, I feel like it just doesn't understand its source material. Xenomorphs started out in the first film as these genuinely terrifying creatures that were near impossible to kill. Playing Colonial Marines is just kind of like, excuse me, out of the way, coming through. They melt like butter. There is hardly a sense of threat when they're just these goofy looking motherfuckers. Also, the frame rate is about as stable as my faith in humanity. Sometimes it'll decide to run smoothly, and other times it'll fuck right off, especially in co-op play, which, speaking of, typically a game is enhanced with co-op, no matter how terrible it is otherwise. For example, I'd say generally speaking that Resident Evil 6 isn't a good game. Now, throw in a second player and it becomes something to laugh at, something to dick around in, and attempt to have fun with. It progresses from terror-bad to, hey, I don't currently hate myself. Aliens Colonial Marines didn't even give me that. They were like, here, have a few more aliens, little more HP, and enjoy your frame rate randomizer. Imagine, if you will, 4 people sitting in a call, playing a game, not saying anything, wishing for a good alien game to exist. And that's what it was! Even the multiplayer, where you get to play as the aliens, is just a big, messy mess. Good luck finding anyone to play this with. Now, Gearbox's Randy Pitchford might say something like, hey, sometimes you gotta eat a cheeseburger instead of caviar, which, by the way, caviar is fucking gross. But I think myself and literal millions of others just wanted a good alien game, which we got in Isolation. Maybe. I haven't played it yet. One of my earliest cases of buyer's remorse was the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Now, before everyone gets upset, the game isn't fucking terrible. It was a case of me saving up my allowance while simultaneously being addicted to Dragon Ball Z. In a period of watching AMVs with spoilers from further seasons, browsing the website Temple of Trunks, and getting my trash fix on, I absolutely wanted a goddamn Dragon Ball Z game. Then I bought it, and it was super subpar, and I beat it in a few hours and was left with $50 less. It sucked, man. I could have picked up something like Tales of Symphonia, but I was stupid. But see, this pick isn't Dragon Ball Z Budokai, but instead something much worse. Something that took the name of Dragon Ball Z and decided to shit all over decades of legacy. My name is Son Goku. What? Dragon Ball Evolution for the PSP. Oh boy. I mean, we could talk about the game itself, but it's essentially just Budokai, an even more subpar version of a subpar game based on a terrible movie. It's like magic in the making. So, how about let's talk about this fucking white American Dragon Ball visual novel. I mean, yeah, I did see the movie 3 times in theaters, each time with a different person, and it was always just the 2 of us. And while Dragon Ball Evolution may not necessarily be make-out material, it certainly was an experience. Let's just say they took some liberties. Like Bulma Briefs now being Bulma Enchanto, a woman who enjoys Attack on Titan cosplay. Or how Goku's a white male, goddammit! But hey, at least Chi-Chi was impressed with him opening lockers or some shit. These halfway drawn rotoscoped pictures of the actors are genuinely terrifying. I mean, look at this shit, it's not even consistent. What the fuck's up with Piccolo? When did he become Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie? Just like, what? And there's something about Chow Yun-Fat playing Master Roshi that just tickles me. I wonder if any of the actors feel regret for being in this movie. How about that time when the director apologized for the movie existing? I suppose the only good thing this game has going for it is that it's one of the only Dragon Ball Z fighting games where you can play as Bulma. But I guess not really, because I try to forget this game exists. Dragon Ball Evolution for the PSP. You might enjoy this if you were a fan of Evil Zone. Probably. Some games don't need to exist. Examples: Breath of Fire 6, Mario Teaches Typing, Infinite Undiscovery. Or in the case of this video, M&M video games. That's right, everybody, everyone's favorite candy characters got themselves a video game. Well, one of many, but that's okay. Most of these are just inoffensive corporate cash-ins for the sake of making even more people buy their terrible candy. Twix for life. So picture, if you will, Mario Kart Wii, what with the motion controls. Now throw that out the window and instead picture living in a sawmill.
Approaching sound barrier! Sound barrier!
Move right the fuck on over, F-Zero, because M&M's Racing is here to stay. Permanently at the Goodwill next to the used underwear, forever. They even forgot to program like a title screen for the game. You boot it up and it's like, hey kids, you wanna race some candy carts? I mean, at the core of everything, this is a discount Mario Kart with discount controls and discount, well, everything. It's terrible. I don't think I've seen V-Sync issues on a fucking console game before, but hey, look right here, you got it.
I need a better engine.
See, even fucking Red M&M-kun knows what with his shitty floating eyebrows. If you don't have enough speed, sometimes this game won't even work. Like, I can't get up this fucking ramp. It took me legit 20 seconds to get over this, and I guess the NPCs probably had the same problem because they didn't even catch up. Like, what the fuck? The carts have a mind of their own, levels look fucking awful, and if you're brave enough to play more than 2 levels of this game, you're rewarded with frame rate hell. You guys remember the game Bastion? Remember how world building would happen around you, slowly revealing the mysteries of the place the kid and the others inhabited? Well, fucking M&M's Racing did that shit first! And of course, as previously heard, was the god-awful sound the carts make. Like, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Who is this game for? What's the demographic? Fans of M&M's candy? I guess it had to have been poor children who needed themselves a Mario Kart fix, as Mario Kart Wii wasn't out yet. And buy Twix. Everyone buy Twix. Not too long ago, I distinctly remember us getting licensed games at the wazoo. Pretty much any summer blockbuster got its own hit game that was usually, well, fucking awful. This was especially the case with the recent rise of superhero games. Dear God, there were a ton of them. I mean, there were good games like the Wolverine's Origin game, but I'll talk about that stuff another time. The Marvel Cinematic Universe sure spawned on a whole bunch of shit. We were seeing games coming out left and right, and pretty much any MCU movie tie-in was done by Sega. All of these games are no good, but none of them are more horrendous and fucking grating than the first of the collaboration, Iron Man. Now, I was a huge fan of the movie when it came out. I thought that Robert Downey Jr. portrayed a perfect Tony Stark, and the structure of the film felt fucking great. So when it came time for a video game to come out, I mean, like, fuck, it's Iron Man, who doesn't want that? Sega was even able to get the actors to portray themselves in the video game adaptation.
Just came up. Pack me a bag, will you?
Oh. How in the actual fuck does RDJ sound like a sound-alike? And in adding content to extend the length of the game, they made the lovable Tony Stark 70% more asshole and took away pretty much all likability. But alas, we can't judge a game based on the cinematics. We have to look at the gameplay, the core of it all.
Whoa!
Yep, this game fucking sucks. God damn it, Sega, how did you fuck this up? Anyone remember Spider-Man 2, the superhero game that everyone references as being the quintessential superhero game? Okay, fuck that though, because the quintessential superhero game is the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Probably. They crafted this system built off Hulk running around and smashing things. That's the fucking game! Then you go back to Iron Man, which came out 3 years later, and it's fucking jank. Jankman! When your best strategy is to repeatedly press the thruster button to do this, you know something is fundamentally wrong. Nothing has any impact. I mean, I know Tony Stark's suits are fucking OP, but to be hit with a goddamn missile and simply like shrug it off is amazing. Not even a sound effect, baby. Also, hey, look how finished this game is. Floating helicopters, backgrounds that look similar to an N64 game, frame rates that are nervous about staying consistent. And you see, this is just the first in a long line of terrible MCU video game tie-ins. So thank you, Iron Man, for starting the trend that may have actually killed the entire concept of Marvel video games. I mean, fucking Lego Avengers did Iron Man better, come on!
You believed in me before. What's changed?
Tony, what in the hell were you doing out there?
Now, a lot of licensed video games make sense. If something is popular, let's exploit it. Then you have others that don't really make sense, like the Make My Video Game games. Did I really write that? Ah yes, the Sega CD. This console gets a bit of shit from time to time, but it really was quite ahead of its time. While it might have been a bit of a commercial failure, without it we wouldn't have classics like Sonic CD, the Lunar games, Popful Mail, and so forth.
You still don't have a Sega CD?
Collecting for this bad boy isn't cheap, but it sure is neat. I actually have a Sega CD-X, which was this rare Genesis Sega CD hybrid they released in 1994. While the power cable is a bit wonky and won't support the 32X out of the box, this bad boy is pretty neat. You could also use it as a fucking Walkman if you wanted, so that was pretty cool. 90s sure were interesting. But you know, this isn't about good things. This is about Make My Video, the fucking prime example of misinformed business execs dipping their toes into the video game industry. Anyone remember these games? Well, all you did was press buttons and, well, make a video for a song using a combination of stock footage and a music video itself. There were 3 of these games, one for Crisscross, In Excess, and Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Now, I was around when these came out, but I can tell you right now, the relevance of these bands has, not stuck around. And they're all identical, like literally almost all the same game, if you even want to call them games. And I can't seem to figure out any of this shit. Like, yeah, you change the camera, put on a few filters, flip the video, and my masterpiece. Oh, I failed?
If you don't do better this time, we're going to kill your dog.
What the fuck? What? Oh yeah, this was a Sega CD. That means we got FMVs, baby. And this is honestly the best part of all of these games. I say this because we've already talked about the entirety of the game portion. In the Crisscross game, you got the miggity Mac Daddy. Yeah, no. In Excess takes place in this bar where there's these girls hugging a pool table and the TV only playing In Excess. It's kinda rude, to be honest.
Sick of this video. I want to watch Megadeth now.
Yeah, me too. Or, you know, watch whatever this is.
You're just the big cheese, aren't you?
I don't know what's going on. But the best and or worst is the Marky Mark game. It opens up with this kid looking around his house for like 4 minutes before some strange sibling sexual tension happens.
It's too sexy for a shirt. You're such a perv.
And for some reason, everyone keeps threatening to kill each other.
Girls, can't live with them?
Shoot him.
Why all the death threats over Mark Wahlberg? Man, I can't figure out what exactly these games want me to even do as I keep failing. How does one determine if a video is good or not? All I know is that this mom is ready for some good vibrations and dad's just not having it.
Romance never hurt anyone.
Honey, the kids want us to choose some shots.
Never make this again.
Quitting's not an option.
Why incest? Now listen, some of you guys out there might really enjoy the next game here, as it does have a couple of its own merits. But I hate it. Into the Matrix. But I do love The Matrix. Well, the first one anyways. I feel like they lost a bit of the magic as the series went on, but that's besides the point. My whole problem lies in getting your hands on one of the coolest franchises of the new millennium and then making a nearly unplayable game out of it. And I feel like this might be a product of them trying to make a complex game before the technology existed. The ambition here was absolutely insane. The Wachowskis were part of the game's production from the start. They even filmed essentially half a movie of material with the crew of the Logos. Enter the Matrix is an important part of the Matrix lore, and extra care was put into making it feel so. Too bad the game is hands down one of the most annoying I've ever had to play. Look, it starts off super interesting. Cinematics are cool, it's quality work for sure. Then you're finally thrust into the game in a level that looks slightly like the lobby scene from the first film, and it's like, oh no. Welcome to Control Hell, the video game. The left stick controls your character. The right analog stick does not aim, but accesses other things. The right and left triggers allow you to strafe, and it all moves way too fast! It's like jank upon jank. Jank so hard it transcends humanity. It's bad, y'all. In concept, it's not the worst scheme, but now let's add in melee combat. Upon punching a dude, the camera shifts to show the action, but, well, I mean, look at it. You move faster than Sonic himself, and the camera likes to shove itself into corners. You might be like, oh, just use guns then, idiot. But you don't have enough ammo, dog! The Matrix is one of those franchises about tossing your guns to the side because fuck stockpiling ammo, so you'll be engaging in melee combat often in order to disarm people. But even when you're shooting people, it just feels weird. This is the Matrix, so you want to do the running off the walls thing and feel like a badass. But bullet time depletes too quickly, and more often than not, you'll try to run up a wall, which I mean is pretty fucking cool, but instead you'll just do a flippy flip. And with the game essentially using auto-aim all the time, you don't really feel like a badass. But actually, there are a few cool things here. The whole hacking system was really neat, and I've yet to see it implemented into another game. I used it to activate unlimited ammo, and that's the only way I found the game enjoyable. But even so, with the terrible convoluted level design, it couldn't be saved. And let's not forget the absolutely atrocious driving missions. Good God. Guys, I really wish Enter the Matrix was a good game, but I can't accept it. Maybe if they took another chance now, they could pull it off. With character action games showing us the complex and cool looking things you can make the player do, I have no doubt that we could get ourselves something special. One look at Vanquish, Max Payne, or even Bayonetta, and it's like, damn. But alas, the Matrix franchise is long gone at this point, and we may never see ourselves a proper game. Anyone have an Amiga? Yeah, me neither, but my aunt did. I didn't really understand what it was about at the time, but I do know that the Amiga had a fuck ton of video games made for it. Nearly 6,000, jeez. There's always bound to be a plethora of terrible games with that big of a library, and I think the one that stood out to me the most was Akira. Yeah, fucking Akira. Or Akira, whatever. You know, the phenomenal cyberpunk manga and film. One of the smoothest animated, most adult-centric, and interesting anime to ever be released. It got an Amiga game. One of the hardest, most unforgiving, and unfaithful games to ever be released. I'll show you, but first we gotta load this shit. These Amiga games took like forever to load because they were on floppy disks. Man, times have changed. Yeah, fucking Akira, man! We start on the motorcycle and... God damn it! Okay, this game's hard. Not like, oh man, this is kinda hard, but I'm literally shaking right now. It's a game of memorization and luck. You have to keep an eye out on the road, your health, your grenade count, and your fuel. Make sure to flip over traffic cones to unveil more resources, because if you miss them, you're dead. It took me forever to get past the first stage and well, another motorcycle stage. But guess what? You run out of lives and game over, it's back to the main menu. After about a minute of loading screens, of course. I tried and I couldn't naturally get past the first few stages. I say naturally because fuck that, I'm a filthy cheater. But even so, this game is still just absolutely enraging. After about 30 minutes, I finally got past the first level and was greeted with a new style of gameplay. And to be completely honest, a bit of a fucking slap in the face to the franchise. Do you remember that scene in Akira where Tetsuo is hallucinating in the hospital? Well, half of the game is this. Yeah, half of the fucking game is this platforming bullshit. Jump on Lego blocks, fight giant teddy bears, putt-putt ripoffs, and clowns. Yeah, this is Akira, you did it! Also, it controls about as bad as it looks. And it was at this point where the unlimited lives cheat decided to just stop fucking working, so it was back to the start. But not before I had to switch the disc again. Obviously, I'm not gonna subject myself to this madness, so while level skipping around, I found out that, hey, the game doesn't get any better. And it's not just an old school PC game, this shit came out in 1994. You know, the year of Donkey Kong Country and Final Fantasy VI, among other good games. So here's to you, Akira, one of the absolute worst licensed games of all time, and just in case you needed any more convincing, there's no music. Just the sound of hell.
Dear Dad, I know it has been many a seasons since I last wrote you. Things have been rather hectic on the farm. Catherine is pregnant with another child. I'm hoping it is a boy, so I can name it Boku, just like you. Anyways, I'm writing because I'm sending you a gift. It reminds me of my childhood. I hope this letter and game arrive safely. Truly yours, Boku no Son.
I have a kid? Grand Slam presents the Flintstones for the Sega Master System. Never heard of it? Well, that's okay because it didn't receive a US release. But I'm sure you've all heard of the Flintstones, whose mini games throughout the years have been generally underwhelming. But this one in particular, this unholy demonic torture device that somehow took shape as a video game, is more than underwhelming. It's one of the absolutely most dreadful and terrible video games ever made, transcending this list. Enter the Flintstones. What awaits you beyond this title screen is one of the most hardcore games to ever grace mankind. And it all starts with our first mission. Fred must paint the wall! Yeah, that's right. Fred must paint the wall. Because Fred wants to go bowling on his day off, and he needs to do house chores before he can meet up with Barney. While this seems easy, there's no fucking time. You have like 3 minutes to do it before you run out, and then zip! It's back to Fred must paint the wall! I failed over and over due to Pebbles being an RNG monster. Sometimes she'll sit nicely in her playpen, and other times she'll just run and fuck up everything! That, and you have to refill your brush over and over, and it's so fucking infuriating. On top of that, the controls are stiff and just feel unnatural. If you're lucky enough to finish painting the wall, it's on to the next level. Get to the bowling alley before it closes! But the best part about this is that literally every rock will destroy your car, causing you to have to repair it, while Barney just fucking sits there twiddling his thumbs. What a good friend. I kept getting there as it was closed though, even though there was still time left on the clock. But you know, as I said, the Flintstones is one brutal game. Too bad you only have 4 lives. If you fuck up, it's back to the beginning where Fred Since this was a Master System game, and that shit's old as fuck, there were a ton of limitations, such as there being only 2 songs in the game. And for some reason, they're both the Flintstones theme. The main one is this lazy, vaporwave version of the song. The developers knew this shit was fucking terrible too, as the only option the game gives you is to toggle on and off the music. And you'll probably want to do that because, well... The third level is a bowling minigame, but get this right, imagine playing a bowling game where you can't see where you're aiming and any indicators are shoved here in the bottom of the screen where they make no fucking sense, and if you fail to beat Barney, that's another life! How am I supposed to tell what's going on? What? But you know, I just got a game over and had to paint that stupid wall again, which by the way is basically Dark Souls. The Flintstones is one of the most maddening games I've ever played in my life, and I can only hope that no one ever touches this game, but you're probably gonna. There is a final level that's about Fred being a terrible father and having to retrieve pebbles from a sky fortress, but it doesn't matter, because none of you will ever be able to paint that fucking wall. Without a fucking shred of doubt, the Flintstones for the Master System is the worst licensed video game I've ever played. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go cry deeply. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out Colin and Emiknightly's channels. I have them down on the bottom. They did some cameos here. It was a lot of fun. Also, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe, comment, favorite, share with your grandma on Facebook or whatever. I know this one was a little long, but I hope you guys liked it. And remember to put ketchup on your eggs and have good healthy breakfast every morning. That is the Taco Bell.